Hello there and good evening. Today I just want to make a quick video here just to talk about three really important things which I've found have really helped improve my sleep. So we're going to be breaking this down into three main categories. First of all, things we can change in our external environment. Then we're going to be taking a look at things we can do to prepare our body. So prepare your environment, prepare your body, and then finally we're going to prepare our mind. So this is probably the most important one of the three because I was quite a hardcore insomniac as a teen and had a lot of depression and things like that, which kept me up at night. So I want to talk a little bit about some strategies we can use to try and help calm the mind and prepare it for sleep, especially when we have a lot of maybe certain mental issues going on or maybe just a stressful week, right? So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that, but to start off, let's look at preparing the environment. So the first thing that I would highly recommend doing is making sure you have a nice cool room. This makes a massive difference, especially in the summer because it can get really hot and make it really hard to sleep. And our bodies actually sleep better in cooler environments. So making sure the room that you're sleeping in, so around your bed, is nice and cool. So some strategies to do that, I simply just open up all my windows in my room. That's a nice noise-free way to do it. And then, of course, you can close them before you actually go to sleep, or if you're comfortable with it, you can keep your windows open. I'm on the top floor of an apartment block here, so it's very easy for me to just leave the window open and I don't have to worry about anyone coming through my window or anything like that, right? So that's one thing you can do, or if you have an aircon, you can use that. Now, I wouldn't personally recommend using an aircon when you're sleeping because, of course, that kind of creates that sort of droning noise, right? I've never actually used an aircon, but I can imagine it makes quite a droning noise. And those kind of droning noises aren't really natural and maybe not the best for helping you sleep. So what I would recommend to do in that case is just to put on the aircon before you go to sleep. So maybe like anywhere from 1 to 2 hours before you go to sleep, or maybe even just half an hour, depending on how hot it is where you are. You can put it on for a bit just to cool down your room so it feels nice and calm and cool before you go to sleep. And that way when you go under the covers, it's kind of warm under the covers, but then it's a cold environment on the outside, which is quite nice. If that's not really an option for you, if it's just really hot, then you can maybe consider investing in like a blanket or a thinner sheet to sleep with during the kind of hotter months of the year. And that can be really helpful because just being cool in general is going to really help you with getting to sleep. So that's probably the main thing you can do to prepare your environment. Another thing you could do as well is music and things like that. So this is kind of like your environment as well. So listening to some calming music nearer the end of the day before you're getting ready for bed is really going to help here. And you can do anything. You can maybe use piano music. I've got some recommendations and I'll leave some in the description below if you're curious. Just general calming music which you can listen to. And yeah, hopefully that will help. You can also listen to calming videos or a calming podcast or just anything that helps you relax. I know a lot of people like to read a book or something like that. I've never really been one to read books before bed, but if that's something that helps you, then I highly recommend it. One thing I did used to do though is I used to do a lot of kind of drawing before bed, and that used to be a nice calming activity for me before sleep. And another thing you could do as well in your environment is kind of warmer lighting. So if you do happen to have like warmer bulbs in some of your lamps, maybe prioritizing those in your bedroom can be really useful. So if you're going into your bedroom to get ready for bed like half an hour before you go to sleep, then maybe using that warmer lighting can really help. And of course, that can apply to your devices as well. Just making sure you're using that blue light filter on your phone, which just filters out all the blue light, which can kind of stimulate your mind into thinking the sun is up in the sky and making you more alert and awake. So just trying to get to those more kind of warmer, orangier, kind of, if that's a word even, colors to help you prime your brain to start getting more ready for rest or sleep. So next thing is preparing your body. So this is number 2. So preparing your body. And for this one, first of all, if you're someone who eats quite close to bed, sometimes if you're like me, you eat a big meal and it kind of sets you off to sleep. So in a way, it kind of seems like a good thing, but that's not true for everyone. And I know if I was maybe have a lighter meal, it would actually do the opposite. It would kind of keep me up. And if you're someone who's maybe struggling with sleep and you have your meal quite close to bedtime, then I'd highly recommend trying to push it back roughly 3 to 4 hours before you go to sleep if you can. Now, I understand that's not always possible for everyone because sometimes we're working really late into the evening or maybe we're training in the evening, and when we get home, it's quite hard to just squeeze everything in within a short period of time. And by the time you finish cooking and everything, it's too close to bedtime. But if you can, just trying to push it back that little bit further can make quite a big difference. And it is generally just a lot better for you as well, because when you eat very close to going to sleep, it can cause a lot of indigestion and things like that, which is just generally more uncomfortable, and it can actually maybe reduce the overall quality of your sleep. So even if you're getting your 8 hours or 9 hours of sleep, depending on how much you need, you might not necessarily be getting as good quality of sleep within those hours. Whereas if you were to maybe have that meal a little bit earlier, then you wouldn't be having that indigestion, so your sleep quality would be a lot better. So maybe even if you got 7 hours, it would actually be better quality than those 8 hours, because you didn't have any indigestion or anything going on in your body. So that's just a recommendation there, and a personal observation I've made from eating a little bit further away from when I go to sleep. I've noticed it just makes a massive improvement. So I would highly recommend giving that a shot, especially if you're also someone who's suffered from any kind of digestive issues. That's really going to help you there as well. Another thing as well is making sure you're exercising in general. So just making sure you're exercising throughout the day. And you don't want to necessarily exercise too close towards going to sleep, because I used to be someone who would kind of squeeze in like a intense burpee workout right before bed. And as you might imagine, that kind of really hypes you up. And so I would end up like waking up in sweats, and I would just be like sweating all the time, because your body's still kind of in that kind of hyper, like a sympathetic state, right? So you're in a much more alert state. And that's not really great for sleeping. You want to be in that more parasympathetic, more relaxed and restful state. So just making sure there's maybe a good, again, 3 or 4 hours before you go to bed, maybe finishing your workout around then. And I understand that's not always possible. So maybe if you're having your workout quite late in the evening, like I do judo quite late into the evening, just making sure when you come home, you maybe do some stretching or just some more relaxing activities, and really knuckling in on some of those bedtime activities, like listening to that relaxing music that I mentioned earlier. So those are some good strategies there for that. And that's mostly it for preparing your body. One other thing as well is maybe making sure you're clean, because one thing that can really disturb our sleep is actually feeling dirty when we're sleeping. So if our sheets are like sweaty, or if we're just not clean ourselves, then it can actually really make a massive impact on your sleep. And like, I know there's been times where like I've been working really hard and I've just kind of passed out, and I've like not really showered before going to bed, and you just don't sleep as well. So it's just really important to make sure you're clean. It's good for your general hygiene as well, of course, but just making sure you're clean before you go to sleep. So maybe if you're someone who tends to shower more in the morning, maybe consider having a light wash before bed as well, and that can really help make you feel a lot more fresh and ready for bed. It's just like that fresh sheets feeling. So whenever we change our bed sheets, everyone knows how great a sleep you have. So maybe, don't be afraid to invest some time in changing your sheets more regularly even. So maybe considering changing your sheets as much as once a week or once every second week, especially in the summer months where you might be sweating a little bit more. And that way you can enjoy a much better quality sleep every night. So I'd highly recommend giving that a try. And the last thing we're going to be talking about here now is point number 3, which is preparing the mind for bed. Now, this is probably the most challenging one, but it's also the most beneficial one to really get fixed here, because if you've got a good mind, even if you don't have the other ones as well, you can sometimes make do, because this one is just so important. Now, the good thing is, some of the other ones we talked about already also help you with preparing the mind for bed too. So there's a little bit of crossover here, which is pretty handy. But for this section, I want to mainly talk about specific issues which can prevent you from sleeping. So usually like intrusive thoughts, or just ruminating thoughts, or stress that has been accumulated from the day. When we talk about stress, usually doing exercise is a good way to kind of relieve that stress, because it can be kind of stored as cortisol, and that cortisol can kind of be released right when you're doing your exercise. So that kind of makes sense, because if you think about when we were like hunter-gatherers, if we encountered a tiger, we would feel like really stressed, but then we'd run away. So we'd kind of burn off all of that stress. But in modern society here, I'm not saying it's necessarily a good or a bad thing, but we just need to have a strategy for it. But essentially that we can take in a lot of stress from this desk work, but we're not exactly running around when we're doing desk work. So maybe after you've done your desk work, if you've happened to have quite a stressful day, of course, reducing the stress in the desk work is really beneficial, but in times where you just can't avoid it, which happens sometimes, doing some exercise can be really beneficial to help relieve all that stress. But when it comes to like maybe more depressive thoughts, or like for me, when I was younger, I was quite depressed because I felt like I didn't have much purpose. I didn't really understand what I was born to do, and that was an issue in itself. And usually what I would do to try and get through that is, of course, I had to sit and try figure out what the hell I wanted to do with my life, which was quite a difficult thing to do, and overcoming that will make a massive difference in your sleep quality. But in the meantime, some things you can start doing now is just writing down before bed everything that's on your mind. It doesn't have to be anything in particular. It's literally just you open up like a note on your phone, you grab a piece of paper and a pencil, and you just write down everything that comes to mind, everything that's in your head. It doesn't have to be for any particular purpose other than to just get it off your mind and onto paper or digital paper. And it's really beneficial to do that, and I can't tell you how much of a positive difference that made for me when I was like lost and I just had no idea how to just get myself to fall asleep. It really helped. And yeah, I just done that every night and I committed to it, and in no time I was starting to get to sleep quite consistently every night. And ironically, that actually helped me then start to figure out how to, work on the kind of root cause of why I was feeling the way I was feeling. Because I, for one, got to see everything I was feeling on paper, which kind of helped me start to figure it out intellectually. But because I was getting a better quality sleep, that was also helping as well. And I was just enjoying life a lot more. And sometimes when well, at least I'm talking about my own personal experience. Everyone has their own experience, of course. But when I was depressed, I found that I had a real lack of joy as well. Of course, I was kind of worried about purpose and kind of feeling quite nihilistic. So if you don't know what nihilism is, it's almost like the feeling of like, what's the point in my existence, right? But for me, one big discovery I found is that when you're enjoying life, those things don't really matter as much. And so I wasn't enjoying life. So I just had to try and come up with ways to start enjoying life more. And usually that's done by finding your passion and things like that. But honestly, I'd say probably the best way to start with improving your overall life enjoyment is to really knuckle in on your health and just, making sure you're eating nice quality foods that you enjoy to eat and make you feel good throughout the day, making sure you're getting some exercise so you just feel generally good. And then, of course, finding something or just finding any activity that you enjoy doing can be really beneficial, even if it's just 5 minutes a day. Don't be afraid to take some time for yourself to do something that you enjoy and you want to do. And if you don't have anything that you really enjoy doing, then just don't be afraid to go ahead and, try something new, or at least, I'm not telling you what to do, but that's just what I done personally, and I found it really beneficial. For example, when I was really depressed, I would just started trying learning new things, and I tried a bunch of different things. I think I tried maths for a while, and I didn't really find it very fun, to be honest. And then I ended up getting into language learning, and that led to me developing my passion, or rekindling my passion for learning Japanese. And now, what were we on, like 5 years on from then, I'm now like teaching Japanese as my business. So don't be afraid to go ahead and have some fun and try some new things, and it can really do a wonder for your health in general, let alone your sleep. So everything is connected, and it can create a good positive feedback loop, which is really awesome. So yeah, that's a little ramble there about some insights on 3 things that really helped. So some things we can do to prepare our environment, prepare our body, and then prepare our mind to fall asleep. So I really hope that helped. And if you want a summary out of everything in today's video, I've left a little guide in the description. It's totally free, of course. And that's just going to give you kind of a checklist of everything that we've covered in this video, plus a few extra things as well, because I think there's probably a few things I didn't mention that I've written down there. And you can use that and you can check those off. It's just done through Google Docs, so you just need a Google account, which is of course free. And yeah, so feel free to use that if you'd find that useful. You can either use it and like check the boxes yourself, or if you just want to take a little review of today's video, then you could do that. Or you could just listen to this video again at a later point if you found it useful. And yeah, apart from that, I just want to thank you so much for watching. And for those of you who've been on the channel for a while, this is the first video in probably a good year, because I've been really just taking some time to work on myself and my entrepreneurship. I've started a brand new business teaching Japanese over the past 6 months. And the reason I took a break from this channel is because I wanted to take some time to develop myself more and hopefully gain some more positive insights to share with you guys. And there was definitely a lot of struggle, but also a lot of brilliant insights that I've gained over the past year or so since I've last been making videos on this channel. So I'm really excited to share some stuff which I hope will be very beneficial to you guys. And this channel is just a humanitarian effort to hopefully start improving health for people who are struggling with it. So it's all about sustainable health and sustainable happiness, which in my opinion is what life is all about. You know, we want to be happy. So how can we be happy more easily? So, and sustainably. So it's something that we can sustain over a long period of time. So that's what the channel mission is about. So please feel free to share it around. It's again, it's a totally like non-profit channel, so we're never going to be really selling anything on here. It's just something to try and help people out. And if we ever do get monetized, we'll likely just be putting all that money towards charity. I will probably be putting it towards cancer research because that's what cause I really care about. But we might do some kind of like community poll or something like that if you guys are interested. If you maybe would prefer a different charity for this channel, because of course you guys are watching it and actually generating the ad revenue. It makes sense if you guys maybe decide what kind of charity we choose to put the money generated on this channel towards if we do eventually get monetized. But yeah, that's about it. And apart from that, I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day or night, and I hope you sleep well tonight. And I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.